Do you love movies? So do I. What's up, y'all? It's KB, and I love movies, inviting you to listen to The Conversation, a film podcast where passion meets perspective and opinion. From the old school to the new, I invite a guest on to discuss the movies that thrill us, challenge us, break our hearts, or even blow our minds. There's always new episodes dropping wherever you get your podcasts. So join the conversation. We don't just watch movies. We love talking about them too. The Conversation with KB Loves Movies, a part of Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hey, this is Jason Kleberg from the Force 5 podcast, a show that forces a guest to come up with a movie-themed top 5 list topic, and then we reveal our picks on air. Top 5 heist films, top 5 tearjerkers, top 5 movie dogs. Every show you'll be asking yourself, what would be on my list? Guests include directors, screenwriters, actors, podcasters, musicians, authors, and even a professional wrestler. Subscribe to the Force 5 podcast, and you won't just be a listener, you'll be a list nerd. The Force 5 podcast, available wherever you're listening now.
That doesn't sound right.
Good grief, Cleo, I haven't even said anything yet. Well, hello and welcome to Wake Up Heavy Recollections of Horror, quarterly WUHrap Up, I guess. This is something that I did not have planned. I just thought about it today, and I decided to put out a little episode here that probably would have been included in the Eraserhead season finale coming out in January. And I know that episode is going to be pretty long. I have about a 45-minute interview with Mike White from the Projection Booth podcast. Along with that, of course, I'll be doing my Yappity Yap, which will be at least an hour. So we're, I think, looking at a 2-hour episode. And I was going to kind of include a lot of this stuff in there as a wrap-up for this season, and decided, since it's December, it is the end of 2018, I would go ahead and pull some of that out and do it as its own separate thing. I'm not going to talk about any movies today. I had been looking for a Why Didn't I Rent This movie to do, and I think I'll save that until after Eraserhead as kind of a recuperation episode, maybe. This is going to be thank yous, suggestions for other podcasts that I listen to, talk about ratings and reviews in a slightly different way. I'm going to read one of the reviews, one of the 4 reviews that I've gotten, and talk about possibly doing a Patreon page finally, or subscription or membership or whatever the hell it's called. And so I'll talk about that a little bit and fish for ideas. I have not been successful yet in, I think I've put out 12 different episodes, varying lengths and topics, and have asked for suggestions and ratings and reviews and all that. And I don't get much feedback, so we'll see how this goes. And no one has yet given their preference for splitting up Eraserhead or keeping it as one episode. So I'm just going to go ahead and plan on doing it as one long episode, and y'all can split it up however you see fit. So let's start with the thanks. I have thanked people throughout, I hope, the season, but I want to reiterate some thanks for a few people, including Brian Taylor, aka Candy Killer, who has done all of the artwork for Wake Up Heavy. For the Why Didn't I Rent This episodes, I took the little logo that he created and I kind of smashed it up with some images of those movies that I found. So that is my work, but the logo is his. Since they probably look a little less polished, I don't want to throw credit to him for those. I did the smashing up just so people could tell the difference between episodes. And those are all currently back up right now. I decided as a Christmas gift to everyone to add them back. Son of a bitch. I think I'll leave that in. You know, I thought that the little dings when I got a text on my phone actually ended up in the audio on this, and apparently they don't. So that's why I said son of a bitch like that. I figured it had gotten picked up, but apparently they don't, so lesson learned. So Brian has done all the player images and the headers and created the logo. And he is, as I mentioned early on, he's my go-to guy when I think about logos and artwork for different projects. And he's very generous with his time, and I'm eternally grateful to him for that. And then, of course, to Chris Reed, aka Sirago17, for the tunes. And the tunes were important to me because I knew there would be some funkiness with the recordings due to my computer, the fans in the house, all that stuff. I thought it would kind of maybe distract the ear from some of the fuzziness and residue that happens because of the way I have to record. I've been using one particular song from the album that I think fits pretty well and is a very consistent sound, and I like hearing it in the background. He has created 2 new little short pieces for the Eraserhead episode, so they will premiere with that, and then I will probably integrate them later on into breaks and other short stops in the episodes. And as always, thanks to my wife and daughter for their support, and thanks to my family and friends for listening. And I know it's not all just them, but they are the main listeners for Wake Up Heavy, and I appreciate that and hope they continue to listen and keep telling their friends. If you are not a personal friend or family member of mine, thank you very much for listening. Please drop me a line or leave a comment somewhere on any of the platforms where Wake Up Heavy exists. You can always hit me in the suggestion box. That's an email that goes directly to me. Find me on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. They are all at Wake Up Heavy, all one word. The blog is wakeupheavy.blogspot.com. Hopefully we'll get that domain pretty soon so I can drop the blogspot on there. But I would really like to hear from people. I mentioned those 3 in the last episode that have been listening to all of them that I can't quite figure out who they are. And I hope they're not bot listeners, but maybe they are, and that's why I haven't heard. Take a second out of your day and let me know. I thank all people that put stuff out creatively, if you can call Wake Up Heavy that. Appreciate hearing back from people in one form or another. If you're on Twitter, find me, tweet at me, Facebook, Instagram, follow. They're all open to followers, so it would be nice to hear from people. Okay, I've got a list of podcasts that I wanted to toss out. A few of these I have discussed on the show at some point or another, and I think a couple I have not. And some of these are new to me that I have started listening to. I think the grandmother of podcasts for me is Faculty of Horror, and I know that I've mentioned them a number of times. And that is kind of the one that I started listening to just help with kind of structuring episodes. And since it was so different from what I was doing, I was able to kind of listen and not worry about digesting and regurgitating all of the stuff that they were saying. It's a very academically inclined show, much more so than mine, obviously. And they dive into socio-political ideas about horror movies. A fun one that I found out about shortly after I started my own is No Such Thing as a Bad Movie. Both of these shows are hosted by Canadians. So, yay Canada, and I've got a listener up there. Maybe it's one of them, I don't know. I doubt it, but No Such Thing as a Bad Movie is a little bit more comedy leaning. I think I've listened to every episode so far, so I caught them early on and am able to keep up. I've listened to every episode of Faculty of Horror as well. I kind of just dove right through all of them. And then another one that's kind of has a little bit of a comedy leaning is Kim and Ket Stay Alive, ellipses, maybe. And I really like the concept of this one. One of the hosts, and I can't remember if it's the same one each time, and if it is, I can't remember which one it is, but they will tell a movie to the other host and then give them options, and these are horror movies again, give them options as to what they would do and what they think the character has done in this situation, and kind of it's sort of like those books where you could pick the adventure, and then they get points, and if they do the right thing, they're going to make it out alive. So very interesting, fun concept. And then another nice concept show is the Cheap Chills show, and this one I've only just started listening to. It's a husband and wife team. They play movie trailers for each other and then discuss them. And I think a lot of them are horror and exploitation movies and funky movies. So that's a fun one. And then kind of a maybe not the granddaddy, but definitely they've got, I don't know how many episodes now. But anyway, it's called 80s All Over. And they are taking each month of each year from that decade and talking about the major releases of that particular month. And I think right now they are up through August of 1984. And I kind of started in the middle, and I need to now figure out which ones I've already listened to and go back to the beginning and then continue on. But it really brings back a lot of movies that I have forgotten about or haven't seen in decades, and interesting takes on a lot. I don't agree with a lot of what they say about different movies. I think maybe I'm a little more forgiving on a lot of the horror and stuff, but that is a very interesting deep dive, and so they're not even halfway through, and I can't imagine. I think they do it weekly, so you figure out the math on that. Another brand new show that started after Wake Up Heavy, Pick Up a Podcast. Kurt talks to the creators of different podcasts, and so the topics are varied, the podcasts are varied. I think they've done one on the Doctor Who podcast, one on a Christian podcast, I think an X-Files podcast. The last one was on Film Guff, which is a British movie podcast. And the first episode was with Mike White of the Projection Booth podcast. And that is the granddaddy for me. I was lucky enough to get Mike to discuss Eraserhead with me, which you'll hear on that episode. And I have gone through, I don't know how many I've listened to. I kind of have to pick through since there are so many. But that is not strictly horror. That is all kinds of movies. There are a lot of horror movies, a lot of exploitation, a lot of art films, cult films, blaxploitation. So I'll link all of these shows on the blog entry for this. Projection Booth has a past show roster, which is very helpful because they're not all on iTunes. I think maybe there's a limit to how many you can have at any given time. And so you can always listen on their blog. And I mentioned this on social media, but the Projection Booth podcast does what's called an Ego Fest, and I think this is his year-end wrap-up, where he takes questions and comments from listeners, and I had sent in some questions as an audio file and was honored that he used all of them on the episode and answered all the questions, plus an additional one that I sent by email. Since he didn't actually have a guest host on that episode, I'm going to add that to my fictional podcast resume and claim myself as the guest host of that, and I will link that as well. Okay, ratings and reviews. I have 7 ratings with an average of 4.5 stars. That's because these are all friends and family that are leaving the ratings, and I've left them for myself, let's be honest. The 4 reviews that are up are, again, in all honesty, all from people that I've known for years. And that's fine. People, please, if your friend or family, leave a review, because if you listen to other podcasts, that helps this one get into the searches and stuff and suggestions. So don't feel like if your friend or family that it's unethical or not kosher to do this. Leave a review, please. Even if it's 3 or 4 words. I don't know if there's a minimum, but whatever the minimum is, do it. You know, I listen to this podcast. Hey, there you go. Takes 2 seconds. You're getting free entertainment, if I can call it that. Please leave a review. But I did want to read one, and this is from a gentleman that I've known for a very long time, but I thought, sorry, I just went off the mic there. I appreciated what he wrote, and it's pretty spot on, so I'm going to try and read it without my glasses here. If you were like me and you grew up going to your neighborhood video store and see, now I can't even see the damn words. Let me put on my glasses.
It's time for another tangent.
You know, I secretly always wanted to wear glasses, and now that I have to, I mean, I don't hate it or anything, but it's just getting worse and worse. Okay, let's try that again. If you were like me and you grew up going to your neighborhood video store and renting movies based on the box art, or you have any interest in the horror film genre, then this is a cool podcast to listen to and reminisce. Is it the most in-depth horror film podcast? Nope. Is it the most professionally produced? Not at all. But Mark brings a level of genuineness and sincerity and a love for weird and amazing movies that is refreshing and candid. You feel as if you are entering a conversation with an excited yet reluctant narrator on his personal journey of filmdom. Enter in. And that was from BMac382. And I also want to thank Snotbox17, CS yinz, and Toonces67 for leaving reviews. And that's something that I'll try to do if I get more reviews, is give shout outs to those people at the end of episodes. And that pretty much sums up my thoughts on the podcast itself. So, not going super deep into these movies, not the most professionally produced out there. I mean, by a long shot. I've heard worse, but I've also heard improvement in many of those. Hopefully that's happening here too. And I'm doing this for me. And if there's people, the last couple of episodes have had less than 20 listens, that's fine. It's not costing me a whole lot to do, which we'll get to in a minute. The benefits for me much outweigh the, can't even think of negatives other than sometimes I get a headache during editing and it takes a long time and all that stuff, but it's fun and I like talking about these movies. So if 10 people are along for the ride, great. Okay, so money. I do have the donation button. I think maybe that kind of turns people off, but there are fees. The SoundCloud membership is about $12 a month, I think, which probably doesn't seem like a big deal. That's when you pay for it in one lump sum. Otherwise, it's a bit more than that. The microphone cost me about $50. It's mainly just time and paper to print out. There's all kinds of little things that maybe we don't think about, but there are costs involved. I don't know where I heard this once, but somebody said, if there's a street performer out there and you stop for a minute and you are entertained by them, you kind of owe it to them to leave them $1. And so I sort of have that in my head for this as well. If nothing else, buy some stickers and do whatever you want with it. You don't have to stick it on anything. You could just use it as a bookmark. But those were meant to kind of supplement that as well. So I've given about half of them away already, but and maybe I'll change it to buy one, get 3 for whatever the cost is on there right now, $2 I think for the stickers. So I'll try and do that by the time this is out. And so maybe buy a few stickers just to help out with monthly costs. And then the Patreon idea I'm tossing around, and I've sort of avoided it because a lot of the podcasts that do that, generally what they do is release episodes early for Patreon subscribers. And that is an idea that I've tossed around, but I think I'd rather have it be bonus content. For one thing, I don't want to have to produce something on a timeline. The other thing with that, getting something early might not be that appealing to a lot of my listeners in the first place. So I think what I'll do if I do it, is have bonus content up. And that would be one of two things. Just an episode on a movie, maybe a new movie that doesn't really fit the format of the program. Something like the hot take I did on Mandy might be a bonus episode. If I get a handle on pulling stuff out of episodes, I might do that as well. So something like the Eraserhead episode that I know is going to be long. If there's a section in there that I didn't think was absolutely necessary to be in the episode, but that I liked, and that maybe goes a little bit deeper into one aspect or another, that might be something that would go on there. And it's basically then something that you pay for if you want to. I'm thinking I can do this. I haven't quite gotten a handle on all that's available through Patreon, but it would just be pay as you go. Pay for what you want instead of a monthly membership. And if I miss something or don't release something early or on time, then you're not getting your money's worth. If anything, that's what I'll do, and just leave it up to people whether they want to pay for that bonus content or not. And if you have any ideas about that, if you would be interested, let me know on any of the platforms that I previously mentioned. One of, if not the main goal for Wake Up Heavy is to inspire people to watch these movies that I'm talking about. Even beyond that would be just maybe to inspire people to watch horror movies. I know of at least 2 friends who have done that. And so that to me is a win for Wake Up Heavy. 2 people that I know one of them wasn't really watching horror movies, and maybe my other friend had kind of done so in the past, but both of them have taken a lot of the recommendations that I've given and watched them. So that is what it's all about. And for people that have seen these movies, I don't know how much I'm adding to their already existing knowledge of the movies, but maybe they're finding something I find interesting that they've never thought of before. And everything that I listen to, even if it's about a movie like The Thing or Rosemary's Baby or The Shining that I have seen dozens and dozens of times, even if it's just reinforcing your own feelings about that movie, sometimes that's all you want. Hopefully, the people that are listening and continuing to listen are getting at least that out of Wake Up Heavy. So just to recap, the movies that I have discussed for the main episodes of Wake Up Heavy have been Phantasm, Tourist Trap, Halloween 3, Dead and Buried, and Black Christmas. And then I did Why Didn't I Rent This episodes on The Beast Within, The Messiah of Evil, and Deranged. And then I did the little hot take episode on Mandy, plus all the other movies that I discussed in the intro and in the 2 minisodes on favorite horror subgenres and favorite modern horror. Coming up next month, in a couple of weeks, is the season finale on Eraserhead, which is going to be a long one. Got the interview, got a funky little thing I did. Well, I'm not even going to talk about it. There's another little fun thing in there, and then it'll just be mostly me talking about my favorite movie of all time. So that is a WUHrap on the 2018 WUHrap Up episode of Wake Up Heavy. Thank you for listening. If you listeners want to give yourself a name, like Heavies or something, maybe toss me some suggestions. Wooies, Ways, Heavies, Wakies, Uppies. I don't know. I don't know if there's enough people to warrant a nickname yet, but yes, thanks for listening. Hope you had a wonderful 2018. Here's to an amazing 2019. Other than Eraserhead, I'm not sure what's coming up. I may do the next Why Didn't I Rent This might be on Alice, Sweet Alice. I've kind of been tossing that one around in my head. Shudder has some good movies coming up that I've been wanting to watch. again that I haven't seen in a while, The Changeling and Don't Look Now. And those are both really, really good, kind of grown-up, ghosty horror stories. And I missed Don't Look Now when it played on Shudder last, and so I've been waiting for quite a while. And of course, Nicholas Roeg just passed away recently, so it was on my mind again. And The Changeling I watched last year, I always remembered really liking that one as a kid. So they're not really why didn't I rent this, but I may do something on those two movies. And maybe that'll be the first Patreon bonus content. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. That should be the end. And don't forget to wake up heavy. Thanks. Bye. Wait, here's a little preview of next month's episode.
In heaven, everything is fine. In heaven, everything is fine. In heaven, everything is fine. You got your good things, and I've got mine.